Hey guys, welcome to another Guy's Garage. Today, we're getting familiar with our Holley Terminator X software. That's right, I'm not a tuner. I've never done this before. Electronic fuel injection is all brand new to me. Tuning is all brand new to me. Tuning, and I'll use that lightly. Adjusting my parameters so that my engine runs better is all brand new to me. Kudos to guys that tune for a living because this has not been easy. It has not been difficult, but it has not been easy. I'm going to show you a couple things with the Holley Terminator X software, some extra equipment that I wish Holley would have recommended or put in the package with the Holley Terminator X because you're going to need it. Limitations with the 3.5-inch handheld. Also, I want to fix some issues. So I've got what's called cam surging. So under load at low RPM, we'll call it up to like 17 or 1800 RPM and as down as 14 or 1500 RPM. It surges. So it feels and sounds just like that. I didn't take you for a ride along, but I will once we get it solved. Also, when I'm coming to a red light or a stop sign, it wants to stall. So it's a stick shift car. So as soon as I let off the gas, it wants to stall. I've adjusted the idle RPM. That's not really it. The car overall is idling pretty good, although I've got the idle set kind of high, but I'm going to show you all that. I'm going to give you a 101, kind of a high level overview of things that would be handy to know if you just purchased your Holley Terminator X and you're just getting your car running, things that I wish I would have known and things I've learned over the past couple of weeks. So stick with me and let's dig in.
So there were a couple things that were recommended to me by my buddy Bill. Number one is to use this cable and actually plug into a laptop instead of using just the 3.5-inch touchscreen. I know from watching other videos online that 3.5-inch touchscreen is limiting. You can't really quote unquote tune. Again, I'm not a tuner. Nope, not a tuner. I just want to get myself set up where I have a good running car. For now, I just want something that's drivable, that's good running, that isn't going to hurt my motor. So I just want to get up and running. So that's what this video is about. Again, just get up and running. But the cable is something that I think you'll need. And my buddy Bill recommended this guy. It's actually not this one, but a splitter so that you can plug your computer in at the same time as your 3.5-inch handheld. I think there's some limitations. I think updating firmware and stuff, you can't do it with this in place. Don't quote me on that, but I know there are some limitations, but this will allow us to use our computer as well as the handheld at the same time. The other thing I bought, I'll bring you over to the car here, that I'm pretty stoked about is this. So I needed something to hold my Terminator X 3.5-inch screen, and I found this on Amazon. It was like $40. You can see this was an automatic car at one point, so I still have the column nub there. That's where my tach used to be mounted also. It kind of covers up my dash a little bit, but you know what? Overall, I like it. It's basically my whole gauge cluster because everything is on that little screen. I just kind of routed the wires. You can see I still have a mess going on. Routed the wires underneath to the computer over here. But yeah, so that was something I bought. It was $40. It's just a 3D printed piece, but it fits really nice. It looks decent. And, you know, for $40, I don't have a 3D printer, which I did, but it was, to me, it was worth the buy. So I've got that. I've got the cable, and then I've got the splitter. So splitter's pretty self-explanatory. Plug it in place of where the 3.5-inch touchscreen plugs in, and then you can plug the screen in, and then you can plug the laptop in.
The next thing I did is this. What do you not hear? You don't hear the fuel pump fire up because I put the fuel pump on a switch. Now I've hidden it so you can't see it. I'm not going to show you where it's at, but I put the fuel pump on a switch. Anybody who's seen my previous videos knows that every time that fuel pump makes a sound, I just pucker. So we put that on a switch so now we can tune, because that's one thing. You've got to have the key on. And you've got to have the Holley Terminator X, the computer on, in order to transfer files, programs to and from the ECU. So now I can do it. I don't have the fuel pump. I'm not building pressure. And I am certainly not filling a cylinder full of gasoline and hydrolocking another motor. If you haven't seen my previous videos, please have a look. It's devastating, but something that I wish everybody knew. I wish I knew. So anyways. All right, first things first, guys. Make sure that you update your software and your firmware. The best place to go is go to Holley's website over here in the corner. Is Holley support. You scroll down to fuel injection, which is right here. Click on fuel injection. Choose Terminator X and Terminator X Max. Here you can register. But then here is all of the software. And again, Holley has a video on how to do this. It's super easy. You can download all the information, the firmware and software, onto your SD card. Then put your SD card into the handheld, and then it will update the software and the firmware together. So that's all I'm going to say about that, but it's all here on Holley's website, and it's pretty awesome and easy. I'll put a link in the description to the video to go to, but for this kind of stuff, go directly to Holley. Do not watch a guy like me making videos. All right, now that you got your firmware software updated, I'm running Holley Terminator X3 because it's the latest version. First thing I'm going to do is go and I'm going to turn on the car. With the car on, I'm going to download from ECU So basically what I'm going to do is I'm pulling that file that's on the computer on the car. And I've been driving around on the base tune and tweaking it a little bit. But I've been driving around, so the learn table should be updated. All right, config has been set to Terminator X Max. Okay. And you can see now it's downloading. And now it's synced. This will close in 3 seconds. It's going to close. But now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to save this file. So I'm going to save global file as. You should see a file pop up. I'm going to put today's date. You can see 519 modified rev 2. I'm going to save this as is. There's a version already saved as is right here. I'm going to put today's date. I'm also going to call it rev 3 because I'm anal. And I'm basically saving this to my computer. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my base fuel table. This is what already has been transferred from previous times I've been driving it around. This is the learn table. This is what it's been doing. You can see these are all the places that I've been driving around. You can see I did run a little bit hard on the highway. I did drive this to work the other day, so I've been up even in the close to the 5,000 RPM range. Spent a lot of time down here driving. It's mostly green, but there are some values that the Terminator X is still learning. So what I'd like to do is transfer this, what it's been learning. I'm going to transfer the learn table to the base. I do not want to fuel the fuel table now, so I'm going to say no, because what I'll do is I'll smooth those values. So now I go back to my base table. I'll smooth those values now that they're in here, if there's anything significantly kind of out of whack. So if I look at the graph, I don't think it looks too terrible. Again, I'm not a tuner. I'm not an expert. But I'm going to kind of just leave it for now. I'm also going to hit save because I want this version to have the new learn table transferred to my base table. So I hit save. And now at least the learn table has been transferred to the base table. So if I want to smooth any of this out, you can see I've got a little bit of purple over here. I can highlight these areas and hit the smooth button. And it will smooth those values out. You can see it took some of these up based on where the car had been running. Down here, I'm not gonna mess with it too much. I'm gonna kind of let it go. I could highlight the whole table and hit smooth, but I'm gonna kind of just leave it as is for now. Again, if I look at my fuel graph, it's a little lumpy. I don't know what good looks like. Again, I'm not a tuner, but I'm gonna leave it. I can tell you the car has been running decent. So I'm going to let it go. Next thing I'm going to do, sync with the ECU, is basically send this to the ECU, because now all I've done is change my fuel table. I want to sync it with the ECU. Hit down here. I'm going to send it to the ECU. And now it's done. So the fuel table has been sent. Now what I want to do, I'm going to make more changes. So I'm going to save global file as. And this is what we saved here. So today's date, Rev 3. I'm going to make this a Rev 4 because I'm going to do multiple tunes today and upload them. So I want to be able to go back to a previous Rev even though I'm doing this all today. So I'm calling this Rev 4 and I'm going to hit save. So now I'm going to go ahead and make more changes. And I'm making changes based on some videos I watched on the internet. There's a ton of great tuning videos. I encourage you guys to take advantage of the folks that really do this for a living and understand what they're doing. But again, for now, this is the basics. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. Car's been running good. I know I can make it better. Guys, the other thing that I started doing, it was a recommendation by one of the YouTubers I was watching, is keeping a journal. So for today, for example, I've got today's date. I've got Rev 3, but basically I transferred the learn table to the base table, and then now I'm going to make some changes in Rev 4. So again, a journal is probably not a bad idea, especially guys like me that don't know what they're doing. This way I can go back to where I was and say, what did I do in Rev 2? What did I do in Rev 3? What was I doing? What did I change? Because I'm not going to remember. I've seen a bunch of videos where you can actually input the intake and exhaust events based on the cam card that came with your cam. This is all that came with my BTR Truck Norris, which is kind of disappointing. Now I found the stage 2, the stage 3, the stage 4 truck cam specs from BTR, but I cannot find anything on Truck Norris, so it's kind of a bummer. It would be so nice to be able to put that into the Holley software. There's a place to do that, and then it could actually do some of the calculations for me and some of the manipulation for me, and I wouldn't have to tinker with this. But unfortunately, Brian Tooley Racing doesn't include it, which is a real big bummer. And people can measure this, so I don't know what the big secret is, but I also don't make cams, so I'm sure there's some reason. But it still sucks. So here's an example. I'm also careful to put a to or a from and a to. So I'm looking at idle air control. I was just watching a video, and this is recommendations by this tuner, so I'm going to give it a try. From 40% to 15% for idle air control hold position, RPM above idle to start ramp. Recommended lowering this, so I'm going to go from 1,000 to 600, and then RPM above idle to re-enable idle control from 50 RPM to 200 RPM. So I'm going to go ahead and make these changes. So this was 15%. I suppose I could just type it in there, but instead I'm doing it this way. Here I'm going to go to 600. Then to here, I'm going to go from 50 to 200 RPM above. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit save on these changes. So we'll see how these play out. So I just increased my base idle timing from 12 degrees to 15 degrees. I'm not at temp yet, so I want to pace myself here. Alright, I want to get my idle air control between 2 and 10%. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to hit my drive-by-wire, pedal versus throttle. I'm going to change this. I'm going to move this up a little bit. And now you can see this drop. And listen to how it smooths out. You notice too, it's not hunting anymore. You don't see the up and down, and look at how close my idle is. I still got a little bit of work to do there, but I can tell you now it's not hunting like it was. I did this at 8. Again, my target idle is 800 RPM. So what if I did 10? I'm gonna go back to 9. Seems really happy. All right, I think it's time for a test drive. Coming to a stop sign is all but ended, so we've corrected that, but we're still fighting a little bit with that surge. I'm running about 1700 RPMs. It's not so bad, but I still feel it a little, so I might mess with the timing a little bit more, but at least when I let off the gas, it comes down to an idle. It's running a little bit high, but it's way better than it was. It literally used to just stall. So I'm coming down to 900 RPM. It would have just died. I'm still sitting around 1,000 RPMs, a little bit high, but you know what? It is so much better. RPM. I think it's more timing. I'll add a couple more degrees of timing and we'll go for a ride. Alright, I'm changing the timing on my base table. It went from the simple table to the 2D table, and I can change every cell. So right now I'm toying with where I'm driving, and it's in that 1200 to 1400 RPM range. I'm trying to clean up some of that surging, and it's going pretty well. So keep driving around. As always, if you got anything out of this video, please hit the subscribe button. Best of all, leave a comment. If there's something I should have done differently, or there's issues you're working through, tell me how I should have done it. Just to recap, showed you a couple things that I would recommend getting as part of the Holley Terminator X system. Showed you some basic software maneuvers, adding files, creating revisions, keeping track of those revisions. Best of all, this car is running better than it has since startup. We fixed the stalling at stoplights. The surging is all but gone. We've still got some tweaking to do, but I'm going to drive it. I might actually clean it, but I'm going to drive it, put some more miles on it, gather more data, and keep on tuning. Once again, thanks for watching.